Alright folks, so today I have a pretty special video for you because we are in fact unboxing a Holy Grail figure of mine. And that's not a term I like to use lightly, the Holy Grail, because I feel like it holds a lot of weight when you say something like that. So this better be truly special, right? Now this is not our first rodeo on the channel talking about Grail figures, because about a year ago, I made a video on Lloyd Irving, who's just chilling behind me on my bookshelf. And nothing has really changed about this figure. I still cherish it to this day because it just reminds me of simpler times playing Tales of Symphonia with my brothers. It's one of my favorite games growing up, and I could still run through it like any day of the week. I adore that game, and I love this figure for it. But there's just something about the term Grail that I feel like has been lost over time, right? The price, the rarity, and the personal connection, I feel like these are all core components to defining a Holy Grail. Or just a Grail, but you know what I mean. There's only a few figures out there that I feel like actually fit the bill of being a Holy Grail of mine. A figure that is very expensive on the aftermarket, pretty difficult to find, or just like a figure that I feel like would truly define my collection, my taste, and just helps you get to know me because I have it in my collection and it means so much, right? Well, this figure is all of that. It's all of that and more, and I think it's about time we stop yapping and I guess just get unpacking. And I think somebody left a video because I said that, but let's begin. So what could Zuko's Holy Grail be? Well, it's not a Xenoblade thing, you know, I haven't shut up about that series lately. And it's not Toho related. I feel like, in fact, that I don't get a lot of opportunity to talk about this series because companies just don't make figures for it that often. There are a lot of them, but they're always very expensive, and they're not typically made by the Japanese companies that I cover on the channel. Once again, realizing that this is not the best angle for an unboxing, but what can you do? I'm limited on space here. Just gotta get it free now. Oh shit. Man, I never thought I would own this figure. This is kinda surreal. This is the Dark Souls Knight of Astora Oscar by Gecko, and none of this would be possible without today's sponsor, Buyee. If you're like me, you're always on the hunt for great deals and hard to find merchandise from your favorite games and anime, but when you just can't find them or they're ludicrously priced when you do, well, that's where Buyee comes in. You see, Buyee is a proxy shopping service that allows you to purchase or place bids at Japanese shops and auction sites that otherwise wouldn't ship to your country, such as Mercari JP, Yahoo Auctions, and Rakuten. You place the orders, they receive the items, and then they ship them straight to you from their warehouse. Simple as that. I'm telling you, having access to all these stores opens up a world of possibilities for collectors, and I genuinely find myself browsing Mercari JP constantly for anime figures. But really, you could find just about anything on there. Video games, magazines, manga, music. If you could think it, it's probably on there. With numerous shipping options and payment methods, Buyee aims to make the experience as simple as possible. And if you use my link below to sign up, you'll receive a 10% discount on your order with up to 5,000 yen in savings. Thanks to Buyee for sponsoring this video. So Oscar here came out in 2018 and retailed for about 34,000 yen, which is very expensive back then. Figures cost that much now for just like anything, unfortunately, but back then that was a lot of money. Money that I didn't really have to spend. And I highly regretted it because this kind of tripled in price. You could look it up on eBay and it'll usually start at around $900, which sucks. But I'm looking at a copy of it now and I just can't kind of believe it. So I'm gonna open this sucker up, and this video is gonna be a bit different than a typical review because I'm just gonna talk about like why it means so much to me, while giving you guys a bunch of B-roll, talking about the figure's quality and whatnot, because I'm interested too. Like, I have a figure from Gecko coming up, so I'm really interested to know just how good their quality is. Also, yeah, just to clarify, this figure was purchased from Mercari JP with the assistance of Buyee, just in case I didn't make that clear. Trying to be a little careful with this unboxing. You can tell he's pretty big. This is a 1/6 scale male character, so we're not dealing with any waifus today. I'm hoping assembly is pretty easy for this guy because I don't want to mess with this thing, considering how expensive he is, but this looks kind of incredible. Look at this crest shield. This thing is massive. All right, so I'm gonna put them together and then we can start talking about this guy in full. Fairly heavy, but not super heavy. That was incredibly easy. You also get this little guy, a crystal lizard, if you pre-ordered it. obviously didn't, but a lot of the copies of this figure just have it. And they also sell this separately, but that version lights up, and people want like $100 for it. These guys pretty much exist just to give you like bonus materials to help you upgrade your stuff, but I love its inclusion, just another thing from Dark Souls to add to the shelf. Anyway, this is Oscar of Astora, all set up, extremely simple to do, and his crystal lizard. You know, I'm kind of surprised they went with plastic pegs for this guy, but there are 4 big ones that go into both of his feet, and he doesn't wobble at all, which we just talked about with that Nia figure. It's like the polar opposite. This guy is an actual statue, despite being made from PVC, so he's not actually that heavy. He is a little heavy, because he's pretty big. He's got this, like, sword and shield setup, though surprisingly, the shield is really light, and the sword also weighs close to nothing, which I think is the right play, you know? Like, as long as it looks good, why would you want the accessories to be heavy? The shield arm plugs in upside down, like the whole forearm, you gotta plug into the elbow, and if that shield was heavier than what it currently is, you might have some problems in the future. So I like the fact that this guy is just nothing to worry about in terms of assembly. But yeah, this thing's kind of incredible. Where do I begin though? Like, where should I start talking about this guy? I think I kind of want to go bottom up this time around. So his base is a crumbled stone structure of sorts, has a very rough texture to it, very realistically painted, which isn't a surprise, but you can really feel how like old and forgotten this setting is. Kind of hard to place exactly where this base would be. Like, this could be the Firelink Shrine, considering the green paint. It could be the Undead Burg, I could see that as well. Probably not the Undead Asylum, I just don't feel like that would make sense, despite that being where you meet Oscar. It's funny how Oscar is kind of seen as one of the faces of Souls, despite how he's just dead within a couple of minutes of the game. You could run into him later, though he's no longer who he once was, he's just a hollow who lost their humanity. Perhaps it's because he's the first character who's willing to help you, or the fact that the Elite Knight armor set just kicks ass in terms of design and stats, but whatever the case may be, I can't say I find a problem with that. You look at this guy and you just think Dark Souls. That's just how it works. So Oscar comes equipped with both the Astora Straight Sword and Crest Shield, as you can imagine. Like I said earlier, both are extremely light, but the paintwork is excellent. The sword looks like it's been through thousands of fights, dulling its sharpness, gold paint chipping away, the shield having this large, beautiful crest worn down through numerous defended slash marks. In the world of Dark Souls, coming across pristine weapons and armor isn't likely gonna happen. You use what you have and you get the most out of it. And that of course carries into the Elite Knight armor. The weathering techniques on Oscar are as top-notch as they get. The silver armor plates have lost their luster, the leather on his belts and boots have worn down to the point of turning white, and his chainmail has started to rust. This is the armor set of an adventurer, one that has lived in this armor, and it sure as hell shows. Also, this dude has like 4 pouches on his back and a dagger at his waist. He made sure he's ready, but for me, it just adds more value and flair to the design. Yeah, Gecko killed it here. I am so impressed at how they brought this armor set to life. It's just so layered and detailed, and yet they didn't miss a beat. The paint is spot on. All these patterns found on the trim or the chest or even on his sheath are sculpted on rather than just being like painted on top. And it's just kind of amazing to look at intentionally damaged armor and fabric to this degree. Like, damn, they were tasked with convincing you that this guy has been through some shit, and it's not just like quality control issues. They were meticulous about it. Also, he's got this little dangly chain by his chest. Fun. I think the pose is solid too. It's not gonna knock your socks off or anything, but it feels very stoic and appropriate for him. Unless they wanted to make it look like he was in a battle, I think it's perfect. The Crystal Lizard is a neat little bonus too. It's a bit bigger than I thought it would be, and the rocks look fairly realistic, while the crystals, not so much, but it's not bad by any means. It's a good paint job overall for a pre-order bonus. Also, he's kinda got a cute face. Like, I've never noticed his beady little eyes before, and it kinda looks like he's smiling too. It's kind of a shame that he's gonna be destroyed momentarily for some upgrade materials. Dark Souls doesn't really need an introduction at this point. You know, after a slow rise in popularity during Demon Souls' release, Dark Souls took the world by storm, and it quickly became one of the most celebrated franchises of like the modern video game era. Whether it be Dark Souls, or Bloodborne, or Sekiro, or Elden Ring, each and every one of From Software's releases is kind of treated like an event, even a holiday, if you will. Well, not for everyone. These games are held in such high regard, and for a lot of people, myself included, just blesses us with gameplay experiences that are unlike any other. These experiences resonated with me in such a way that I don't even think I'm the same person I used to be anymore. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but I feel like we all have experiences like that with media. Man, I remember the first time I saw this game, I just had no interest in it whatsoever. I would sometimes watch my brothers play it, and I would just think to myself that there is no way this would ever be up my alley, but it wasn't until I built my first PC where I finally gave the game a real shot. Now, back then, the game wasn't even on Steam. It was through Windows Live. That horrible service, and the PC port was terrible. You needed a mod to get it running properly, and I don't even think I had it. So I was just using like the worst version of the game to try and experience it, and I was so bad at the game. I was doing a quality build, just putting like all my points into every stat, fat rolling everywhere, just struggling through it, trying to like understand what was going on, but it didn't matter. I was just so engrossed by it all. People often talk about how hard these games are, and I do appreciate that side of Souls that just kind of forces you to actually respect the rules of the world, but it's really the exploration that made it as addicting as it was, and still is. Every area having new enemies to fight, weapons to find, secrets to uncover, combing each and every zone and just taking it all in. This desolate yet beautiful world was one that I just didn't want to end. Unless I was in Los Isleth, then I wanted it to end. God, that place sucks. But you don't forget areas like Anor Londo or Ash Lake, the weird people you meet along the way, or the boss fights that just kick your teeth in. And ever since, I've been a huge fan of From Software. You know, right after that, Dark Souls 2 came out, then I went back to give Demon Souls a shot, and at that point I knew that if From Software had a new game on the horizon, you could bet your ass I was gonna be there for it. I even went back to play the Kingsfield and Shadow Tower games, and those are such a cool look into the past. You can literally see the blueprints for what would eventually become the Souls series within those games. My desire for this Oscar figure didn't come from an admiration for the character, rather the game itself, the company, and what they've given me over the past decade. While there are plenty of characters from this series that leave a longer lasting impression based on their actions, Oscar just represents the series as a whole for me. And considering he's in an armor set that you can find within the games, it's not hard for me to see this as the player character, my playthrough with Dark Souls, and I can't think of another armor set that better represents the feeling of experiencing these games for the first time. So yeah, that's my history with From Software and their games. Just truly memorable, iconic experiences that I'm never gonna forget. But to go back to the figure, Gecko has made a ton of characters from Software games. Outside of Oscar here, you got Siegmeyer, you got the Lord of Cinder, Bloodborne has the Hunter as well as the Doll, and then we have Sekiro, for example, who is supposed to come out in June, though has been delayed so many times that I highly doubt it's gonna happen, but I guess we'll see. My main goal in all of this is to get one figure from each mainline series. Gecko never made a Demon Souls figure. There are other companies that have, like Prime 1 Studios, but that's like a 1/4 statue. It's very big, very expensive. I like the fact that these are kept at the 1/6 scale, a bit more affordable for someone like me, and I appreciate the space that they save. So I'm gonna just try and stick with the Gecko line for now, and I'm more than happy with their quality, so it's really not an issue for me. But yeah, so far we have one for Dark Souls, gotta get a figure for Bloodborne. Sekiro will happen eventually, at some point, and then they are planning to make an Elden Ring figure of the Raging Wolf. It's in production, but we haven't seen a prototype yet, and this company is very slow, so I don't expect to see it anytime soon, but it will happen eventually. Now, would I love the opportunity to pick up more than one figure? Absolutely, that sounds fantastic, but realistically, I just don't see that happening because of the aftermarket prices. The Doll, for example, extremely rare. The Soul of Cinder, like $2,500. I just don't see myself ever spending that much money. So while I'm always gonna keep an eye out for them, I just don't expect it to happen. They are, however, making an Artorias figure from Dark Souls 1, and he does have a prototype already, so if I had to guess, that is probably a figure that will be added to my collection, but not for a very long time knowing this company, and I don't want to think about the prices, so let's not. But yeah, that's my mission. This is the start of a beautiful thing. This Oscar figure is immaculate, and I am so happy to finally add it to my collection. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and humoring me this time around. I just personally feel like it's really important to express the significance behind your Grail figures, why you care about it so much, and why you feel like you just can't live without it. But let me know what you guys think about this one, and let me know what grails you're looking for down in the comments below. I'll have a new video for you guys in about a week or so. I'm always working on something, but I'm never exactly sure what that is until it happens. So until that video does come out, I guess I'll just say take care. Thank you once again to Buyee for sponsoring this video, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. See ya.